What's going on, guys? Code Talks here. Today I'm here with a brand new video for you guys. So just before I even start, if you want to skip this intro and get into the coding, feel free to do so. Timestamps in the description. But for those who want to hear the intro, it's going to be about what are the next steps. So you guys may have seen my last video is about me saying that I'm going to start streaming. So I did my first stream on YouTube. Went pretty well. But I think I'm gonna start streaming on Twitch just to grab another set of audience because I don't think a lot of people on YouTube come to YouTube for streams specifically. So I think I'm gonna head over to Twitch and try to start streaming there. So that being said, I'm gonna add the Twitch channel in the description or at the top comment. It'll be pinned, and yeah, that's that. So let's get started with today's video. I'm going to be remaking the How to Code in Python series, making it better, revamped, and adding some more new stuff, and making it a bit more project-based and doing actual goals. So for today, the goals are going to be right here. You'll see in the bottom right corner. I don't know why commenting is clicked out, crossed out, but it shouldn't be because we are going to be doing this from scratch. So let me make this whole thing bigger right here so you can see the whole process. So we'll go through commenting, output, input, and call it a day. That should be enough stuff to cover today. So let me just see if I can make this font bigger. Font size, let's make it large. Well, what about huge? I think huge is good. Okay, so let's get started. So what's the first thing on our list? Commenting. So here is Python's single line comments. So anything after the hash or a hashtag is going to be commented out. So when you compile your code, it'll just skip over those lines. And then a multi-line comment is just those three single quotes. So this is multi-line. And again, it'll just skip over that. So that's pretty much commenting. So we're already on a roll. Let's just cross that out. And let's continue on. So for output. So in Python, to do output, we have the print function. So print is, okay, oh, this is perfect. You can see the whole little documentation over here. So the print function is obviously useful for printing out to the console, which we have right here. I think the console is big enough. So for example, if we did print hi, so you can use single or double quotes. I'm just going to use single quotes and run. You'll see hi. So congratulations. If that's your first time writing in Python, you've written a script that can print out hi. So what I did here was run the print function and I passed in like a parameter. So I passed in this thing called a string. So this is for complete beginners in Python. So a string is like if I had single quotes and said hi. So this right here is a string. So that's a string. So it's basically a series of characters. So anything that single quotes is a string. And then I should probably go over integers. So anything that's just a whole number, that's an integer. And float, or anything with like a floating point decimal. So those are pretty much the three main Python data types. So we can output like ints as well. So let's just go through that. So you can just type in like 12. Oh, you don't need semicolons. This is in Java. And then 12.33. So if I rerun the code, and REPL is good. So I'm going to try to use REPL for this series and attach the REPL at the end. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. So you can see we're printing out everything. So these two are numbers and these two are strings, series of characters. So now that we've pretty much gone through basic output, we can't check that off yet. We have to go through end of output. So basically what's happening, you'll see, as soon as I print hi, it's moving on to a new line. So what happens if we wanted to print hi and then 12? So how would we do that is we adjust the end parameter in the print function. So you write end, and then you can make it end as just single quotes, so n does nothing. So now what will happen, you'll notice, is it'll go high 12. But let's say you want it high and then space. So you add a space, and then you'll see like high 12 and then 12.33. So the default ending is \n, and \n is just a new line character. So you'll see if I just do the \n, you'll see the same old default input, but that's pretty much the ending. That's you can make that whatever you want, and yeah. So ending's useful for exactly what I showed you, and then now we should probably go through concatenation. And by the way, you can do the end, adjust the end parameter through any, whether you have int or string or anything. So concatenation. So sometimes we need to make strings and ints in the same print line. So how are we going to go through that? Because let's say we did like, if you come from other languages, you might be like, why can't we do something like this? Now, you'll see when I run this code, it's an issue. It'll say you can't add a string and an int together, like physically add. So in Python, what you do is a comma. So now let's just comment this out. And by the way, how I commented all the way out, all of it out together, is I did Control / and that will just comment out all the lines you highlight. So you'll see it did high 12. So what I want you to notice here, it added a space here. So that's exactly what the comma does. So you don't need to add a space in your string when you did 12. And I'm pretty sure you can even do 12 and then high backwards. Let's just test that out. Exactly, so it works as wanted. But what happens if we didn't want a space? And sometimes we'll come into situations where we don't want spaces. So we can actually use that plus. So you can use the plus when you're adding the same data types. So you'll see it works here, and you'll see it completely okay. But I'll just zoom in a bit for you guys. You'll see it's completely okay. So how do we do that with an int? You can use this str function, which will turn ints into strings, and then when we do like 12, for example, it'll work completely fine, no spaces, as you're about to see if REPL is willing to run. What's going on, REPL? Let's just rerun this code. Are you gonna... I don't know what happened to REPL, man. Let's just do main.pys. Sorry, I'll just go through shell. Can I do main.py from here? Python 3 main.py. Okay, so you can see it says high 12 here. So I think we're just going to use terminal for the rest of our tutorial because REPL just doesn't want to run. So you don't really need to know what string does, but essentially it's just converting it into a string. It's not really that complicated. So that's pretty much all of output. So let's click off all of those. So now for our final little bit of stuff, we got to go through input. So input, we use the input command in Python. So this input, it will get a string from the console if I run this. And we need to store it in a variable. And for those of you who are new to programming, variable is essentially like a box. And in that box, you can store whatever you want. So you have different types of boxes, and the types of boxes are int, string, and float. So let's say I made a variable. Let's just call it whatever. Let's just call it first var, and this is the naming convention in Python. You use underscore, not camel caps, as you may if you code in Java or whatever. Or BEM conventions, I know that's in people in web dev too. But yeah, so this will allow me to get a string input. So let me just quickly comment this out. So let's just run the same piece of code. So over here, I can enter a string, hi, and the script ends. So I can even print out this first var right here, and it'll print it out. So let's try running the script again. I do hi, and it should exactly repeat what I wrote, hi. So that's a combination of input and output. We're getting input from the command line, storing it in a variable called first var, and printing out first var. So it's important to note that type of first var, just so you guys know I'm not cheating you guys in any ways. Does the console work? Okay, hi. Oh shoot, I didn't put a print statement around it. But we need to put a, okay, what? I don't want documentation ripple. Thank you. Let's just run this. Okay, hi. And you can see it's class string, so it's a string. So that's perfect for that. And also you can concatenate two variables. So if I did second var, since they're both strings, I can use the plus symbol, but you should also be able to use the second var. And this time it's gonna say I'm gonna get two inputs. So let's say hi and bye, and you can say it says hi bye. So that's perfect. But you'll notice that it's kind of awkward because there's no prompt or anything like that. It's just straight up. It's just you just enter it, and for someone else who's new to your program doesn't know where to enter stuff, it could get confusing. So over here in these brackets, you can add prompts. So enter your first number and put a space, and then enter your first string, enter second string, and now we have prompts. So enter your first string, hi, bye. You'll see it works perfectly fine, and we're just concatenating. So I hope you understand that so far. And now let's look at ints. So this is string. So let's go to int. So we can do this, comment this, and let's go to string. So first int equals, now to get input, so for traditional input we just use this, but remember how we above over here we wrapped this 12 into a string to convert it into a string? We can do that. So input returns a string, so if we wrap it around with the int, it will turn it into an input. And so I'm going to do this whole prompt thing too. Enter number, and then I'm going to print the type of first int. So type, it prints the data type, so in case you haven't noticed. And then I'm just going to reprint first int right here. So let's run this code again. Enter number, let's say 54. It's an int and it's 54. So you guys can even work with, having little output statements like your number was, and remember you don't need a space because the comma does it for you. And if this is willing to run again, Ripple's not willing to run again and doesn't have patience. Okay, your number was this first invalid syntax. What is the invalid part in this? What happens if I delete this? Just to enter number 54, and then your number was, and then first int 54, and then your number was 54. I don't know why it was stripping out. Did I type in the wrong thing? But yeah, that's that. So you could do the exact same things we did with strings, with ints, And now for the difference with floats is, I'm just going to grab this code because it's pretty much the same. So I'm going to do that and delete that. So input float. So for floats, let's just call this float for people who are going to be using this whole code. Instead of casting to an int, we cast to a float. And then your float was, and then change this to float. And then why not also do print type first float. And let's do all of that. So enter number, let's do 12. So by the way, you can also enter integers inside floats. So I'll give an example of that. So it's a class float, your float was this. But notice what happens when I enter an integer. It adds a 0.0. So just be wary of that depending on if you're doing competitive programming. It might, if you are learning Python for competitive programming, that could rise to be an issue. But outside of that, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please drop a like, comment, subscribe, and any feedback is much appreciated. And let's just finish checking all of this off. And basically now you know how to do input, output in Python. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.